All right, well, we just saw the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and on this show, I take my friends out, we go see a movie, and we do a spoiler-free review, followed by a spoilerific discussion. So if you have not seen the movie and you think you might want to, you can watch the first half and find out whether we thought it was worth seeing or not. And then if you have seen the movie, or if you don't care to see it and just want to know what we thought, either way, you can watch the second half and find out more about our thoughts on the film. So, yeah, there was a lot of people that are worried about this movie going into it, myself included. We've got Megan Fox, we've got Michael Bay, we've got another 80s property that they're adapting.
That is much loved.
Yes, and it's been rebooted yet again. This is the third film reboot of the series, or the third, origin of the franchise done. And for what this is, honestly, it's a pretty decent adaptation. It's a pretty decent version of Ninja Turtles. The designs are sort of the designs that people were worried about. I think you get used to them extremely fast. I don't think it really pulls you out of the movie or really makes you think, why didn't they just, put the right noses on them or any of that kind of thing. It's like, no, this is their take on the Ninja Turtles. The story is pretty much what you'd expect it to be as far as like the Turtles origin goes. The action is fairly decent, and the pacing and the tone of the movie are very consistent. So it's a film that it felt shorter than it was. It felt like it moved along really well. It felt like there was a lot of things happening in it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Having said that, I could care less about any of the human characters, really. I thought the Turtles were fairly well written and fairly well done. I thought Splinter was excellent. I thought the way that he was designed was really great. Not so happy with his new voice, which doesn't have any of the, he doesn't sound like a person talking with an accent of any kind. He just sounds like an American guy. But not to dwell on any of that stuff or nitpick any of that stuff, because honestly, it's a decent movie for what it is. And I would say that, for kids that kids that didn't grow up or haven't been exposed much to the other movies, either the live action ones or the 2007 3D CG movie, I honestly don't think they'll mind at all, that these changes have been made, or that there's this different version. They'll just enjoy the movie for what it is, and it's a fairly fun movie. It's fairly good action. It's not something I would rush out and go see again, and certainly there's a lot of better options out there right now as far as movies go. I would not recommend seeing it in 3D. I didn't think that added much to it, and I thought that kind of confused some things. There's a lot of shaky cam, especially in the very beginning. So that part of it was kind of distracting and kind of a bummer to see. But I would say, when it comes out on home video, when you can download it or stream it or rent it or any of that kind of stuff, I would check it out. And definitely, if you have kids in the family that are into this kind of stuff, it's a good one to sit down and watch with your kids, and see if maybe you happen to like some of it better, or so forth with it, in relation to the other ones that you've already seen. So that's my thought on it. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely went in with, I wouldn't say I had totally bottomed out expectations, but I had fairly low expectations. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of it. It didn't wow me or anything, but I really enjoyed watching it. It was, pretty good. The kind of turtle movie I kind of wanted to see. That the turtles all really felt like the way I remember them to feel. Mm-hmm. They all kind of had this character arcs I expect them to have. If you're a Turtles fan, you kind of know, the different roles the four turtles go into and kind of where they're going to go in the course of a movie.
Yeah.
I agree about Splinter's voice. It was, I don't know, I feel like Splinter should sound like an old man, whether there's an accent or not, and he didn't sound like an old man, which was kind of weird. I like the other voices fine. The human characters I thought Megan Fox was okay, but for the most part, I didn't care a whole lot. I think she did good as the nosy, pushy reporter. That's kind of what you wanted
Yeah.
out of April O'Neil, so that worked for me. I remember a lot of people complaining about the design of some of the turtles. I kind of enjoy it because they all kind of look creepy and unsettling, and I think that works really well because if there's a 6-foot mutated turtle, I expect it to be kind of creepy and unsettling. So
yeah, that's an excellent point.
Totally worked for me, and I like the design of Splinter too. He looked pretty different, and I liked it from what they've done before. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think especially if you're a Turtles fan from the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of fun throwbacks that newer viewers may not get, but there's some nice little Easter eggs in there for you to look out for that I got a kick out of seeing. So
Yeah.
I think if you're a Turtles fan, there's a good chance you're probably going to enjoy this movie. And there's a lot in there for new fans too, like Dale said. So
What you were talking about earlier about going in with a lot of people are going in with a hate for Michael Bay. Let's get it out there. Michael Bay did produce this, but as somebody who grew up on the Turtles, I went in so scared to death because they released the little pictures here and there about what the Turtles were looking like, and I'm a purist. I was really excited about a live action movie, but I had in my mind what they needed to look like. Went into the movie with very low expectations, and of course at that point it's not hard to exceed them, but it was really well done.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. The 3D was not worth it. There were a couple cool scenes that made use of it, but the shaky cam at the beginning was very disorienting. The human characters were largely forgettable.
So what part of it was well done?
The action scenes were excellent.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that they used the Avatar motion capture to make the turtles come to life. The turtles' facial features were very well done. They sold a lot of the emotional scenes and even the quirkiness of characters like Michelangelo and the seriousness of Raphael come across in their facial features.
Yeah.
And that you can't do that with just regular CGI. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
The Avatar technology really helped with that. I really enjoyed how they brought the characters to life. They felt like the Turtles of old. You forget about the redesign so quickly, and they become just...
Yeah, it's true.
It was really well done. I agree with the Splinter point. He was very... he was an awesome character, just like Splinter should be. But his voice was kind of... It was out of place.
Right.
It was very out of place. He wasn't the wizened sensei. He wasn't he wasn't the Japanese stereotype, as it were.
Well, if you hear Splinter's voice off screen, you don't really
you wouldn't
think
put
that's
that,
Splinter.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
A lot of the
You
others are
wouldn't.
pretty easy to place.
Yeah.
Easy, definitely.
I loved the fact that they made send-ups to the old parts, the old movies, and they didn't have they did have a couple send-ups to the cartoon. I really enjoyed the comic book feel at the very beginning, right before they went into the introduction of April O'Neil. Kind of had a very Sin City feel for it. And a lot of people, I heard everybody talking about, well, after they screened some footage at Comic-Con, that it was very kid-oriented, but the movie was kind of dark. It had some darkness to it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a kid's movie through and through. I mean, it really is. Yeah, I mean, it's very much a lighthearted movie, and they threw in a couple of fart jokes and things like that. So it's...
Well, yeah, but it had enough darkness where you could see it as an adult movie, or at least I could. I mean, people died. So.
Yeah, well, that's our review version. That's the quick version. So if you want to go see it, please don't let us spoil it. We'll get into a little bit more of a discussion of it here. You guys were talking about sort of the nods to the other series or things like that. What were your... What are the things that you picked out?
The first one, I think the first one I caught specifically was the pizza on Splinter's head. That was right out of the first movie, which and there was another one shortly after that, but now I've forgotten it by the time.
He didn't say I made a funny.
Yeah, he didn't.
He didn't. Well, I mean, that really doesn't work without the Japanese accent either.
That's old.
The older accent,
right?
Because he's got to say it in the "I made a funny."
Yeah,
you know, and that didn't work.
And then of course the cowabungas at the end. That was awesome.
The cowabunga.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh God, there were.
I know there were more I picked up under the movie,
bunch.
but there's definitely some.
They had the thing, and this is in the trailer too, but they do have the thing where I think originally in the script the turtles were supposed to be aliens in this adaptation.
Yeah.
And
they kind of made
they changed their mind because people were really upset about that. And so there's actually a kind of throwaway line in this where the Will Arnett's character asks if they're aliens, and Megan Fox's April O'Neil is like, "No, they're not aliens. That's stupid.
Stupid.
It'd be
They're
stupid.
just big turtles."
Yeah. I think I kind of like
because that's not stupid.
I think I kind of like this version of the origin where it was, you know, some weird science experiment gone wrong that created the turtles.
Yeah.
I think I like that version more than some of the other ones.
Yeah,
just randomly getting in contact with some weird ooze or something. Like I liked the purpose that was there to it.
It starts to end up feeling like Oscorp or something.
Yeah.
Like, it really feels like one of the Spider-Man origin stories.
Yes, that's true. Oh, and then of course, you know, April O'Neil is connected with what's his name, Mr.
Yeah,
Sacker.
a lot of people are kind of miffed at that. I think that that's a good choice as far as like rebooting the series to kind of tie the characters together a bit more.
Yeah,
I think otherwise in the context of just this one movie, it doesn't make sense that April would like continue to be with them. Like,
right.
Why is she in the second adventure? Like, you know, she was connected to him in this, but unless you have that backstory that, you know, her father was the one that actually created the turtles and she's the one that saved them, you know, that makes them more of a family unit than just people that are, you know, stuck together in the same conflict or the same goal kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it didn't really bother me.
One of the nods that I really liked, and it's really a toss away scene, is when April's looking at the video of her as a kid in the laboratory. In the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie back in the day, they introduce the company that made the ooze, and they introduce them as TGRI. In this movie, the ooze canister says TCRI, which is actually what it is in the comic book, and I liked that.
Yeah,
it's a small thing, but I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, because of the comic and because of the cartoon and because of the original movies, there's so many things that, like, depending on when you got into the Turtles, that really depends on which version.
Which you consider real.
Yeah, what you really, like, attached yourself to.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for most people, I think the cartoon show is the thing that they saw the most. If you're of a certain age, like, if you're between, like, 5 and 20 years younger than I am, that's the version that you saw the most of. You get younger than that, and it starts getting into more either the original trilogy of films or the 2007 film becomes a little bit more. There's very few people, I think, that really got into the comics first. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that got into Turtles and then got the comics and were sort of like, oh, that's what the Turtles were?
Yeah, the comics
it's
are
very different.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a kid's comic either. It's kind of there's a lot of commentary and stuff in there, and it's also not like packaged and merchandised. You know, all the characters have the same color bandana, and they didn't really think about like how to sell toys that look different than one
And actually,
another.
that was another thing I really liked about the character designs was, even with the old ones, they all basically looked the same, except for weapons and bandanas. But
Right.
like in this one, like Michelangelo was obviously the smallest one because he's quick and nimble and everything, and Raphael is just huge compared to the rest, and then
Yeah.
Donatello and Leonardo are kind of in between or whatever. But I like that they all had very, like, it wasn't just, some accessories that were different. Like they had
Even if
really
you
different
saw
body
them,
styles.
even if you just saw a silhouette, you'd be able to tell who it was.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is really cool. And even their facial features, like if you got to zoom in on their face, even if they didn't have the mask, you'd be able to tell because Raphael has scars. Donatello looks like a geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even without everything.
Michelangelo has really bright blue eyes.
Yeah.
And he has a smirk to him, kind of frecklish too. Or at least I got that feel. Leonardo very plain.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. One of the things I thought was cool, and I don't know if anybody noticed it, but Leonardo's his chest plate kind of had a samurai look to it.
Yeah, he had like the bamboo.
That's actually the same chest plate that Razar, the werewolf monster from number 2, wears at the end. And I was like, wow, that's a very very strange thing to keep.
Yeah.
But it was really cool, and this one had the input from both Eastman and Laird, both creators. Who typically only Eastman has had relations with the last few turtle endeavors.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I think one thing I really like too that I don't remember so much in the other movies was like Splinter got his like really awesome badass moment. Like you got to see Splinter just be a complete badass, and I don't really remember that as much from the other. Granted, it's been ages since I saw him, but I don't remember there being any scenes like that where you could just get to see Splinter just wail.
Yeah.
And that was
There was only
that.
one there, and you really don't see it. And it was in the very first one where he, spoiler alert, tosses Shredder
Gotcha.
off of the roof.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the only.
And I like
one.
the way it's set up that like it's Splinter and Shredder having this badass throwdown or whatever, and he's holding his own against him, and it really sets it up for later where all 4 turtles are having trouble with Shredder. So it just like really sets it up that Splinter's he's a complete badass.
And I'm like, probably of the 3 of us, or probably out of just people in general, like I was never attached to the Turtles. Like I was aware of them and I'd seen the cartoons and things like that. I think I saw at least the first movie, like when it originally came out, like on home video or whatever. But that was more like, I was like just like when they were really hitting big, like in '89, I was only like 12 years old, but I was still sort of on the older side of people that really like the Ninja Turtles. So like, I'm not really attached to like any of the older versions of it at all. But one thing I did sort of have a problem with that I've seen other people sort of talk about is that they're not really ninjas. They're not really like trained. It's more of like Splinter just decided to teach himself martial arts and then teach them martial arts.
Yeah.
So you don't get the same feeling of, I think in the first movie, he was he was a samurai, wasn't he, or something like that? Like he was an actual.
Well, it depends on
He was
what
like a
you're
human.
looking.
Yeah, because there was the one where he learned the moves from his owner. Like he was a rat.
That's right. That's
And
what
he-
it does in the movie.
In the movie, he's a rat in the cage that watches his owner, who the Shredder kills.
Yep.
And in the cartoon, he was the human that Shredder betrays. And same in the comic book, he
Yeah.
was the human that Shredder betrays.
I mean, as insane as it is for, a rat to like follow along and learn martial arts.
Yeah.
I like that concept better than
He learned it from
he
a
just
book.
kind of picked up a book and like
Yeah,
taught himself
I
and
kinda
then
like
taught
that
the
a little better
turtles.
too, yeah.
But then again, these turtles aren't really all that ninja anyway. They just sort of rely on being really strong and
Yeah.
being
Yeah, and they
invincible to
are
bullets
really
and
strong. I mean, they were tossing around shipping crates in the beginning, which is
yeah.
Throwing dudes through subways.
Which, another thing, that kind of bothered me. Shredder, he adapts to his suit, which is a robotic suit, of course, Michael Bay.
Yeah.
A robotic suit. He adapts to it very quickly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, of course he's trained, so I believe that. But they're strong enough to throw shipping crates, and they're
Right.
barely doing damage to him.
Yeah. There were also points where, like, he was moving around in the suit or sort of jumping up in a certain way, and there'd be a sound that sounded similar to the Transformers sound.
Well, they turned him into a Transformer.
They basically
is what it did.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean,
Nearly.
he even had some weird magnetic thing that caused the blades to come back to him. I mean, what?
Right.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised there wasn't any nod whatsoever to Casey. Is that his name?
Casey Jones?
Yeah, Casey Jones. Like, if there was, I didn't notice any. 'Cause
Well,
I was hoping
there
there was.
wasn't.
You know, here's the thing.
Which I was a little surprised there wasn't.
They didn't get too far into where Shredder came from. They didn't
True.
give him much of an origin story. He's not, he's just sort of in there. And I'm sure that they'll, if they make another movie, they'll go into more detail with that. They'll go into more with that. Based on the turnout tonight, I don't know how well this movie's going to do. I think there's a lot of competition, and so it's really going to boil down to like how much the kids like it, like grade school kids kind of thing. How much they get into it and want to see it, and how many parents are willing to take them to this but not take them to Guardians or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough competition.
Gosh, I didn't even
But
think about Guardians.
I mean, there's people that won't go to a PG-13 movie with their kids, and so it might have a bit of a chance that way. But as far as like side characters go, it did do an interesting thing by bringing Vern into the story, which Vern is the cameraman on the TV show, and that was Will Arnett's character in this. He's not been in any of the movies before, so this was kind of the first time they've adapted that character over. Krang has never been done in any of the movies that I'm aware of, unless he was in the 07 one, because I didn't see that. So he's one that they've never pulled over from the TV show that would be another interesting
they also,
character to bring in.
They recast the character as Whoopi Goldberg, but they had Thompson, the boss at Channel 6, which I thought was interesting. I mean, she was a throwaway character.
Was she actually Thompson, though?
They called her Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like, Thompson just fired me.
I mean, that's like, that really didn't work. Like, they really didn't. Like, she didn't need to be called Thompson because she really didn't embody or portray that character the way that who that character is.
Yeah, I mean, the character was based around the idea that he hates turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And Vernon was his mouthpiece. Because Vernon was actually in the cartoon, he was the co-anchor to April.
Yeah. But he's kind of like in the Turtles universe, he's sort of the equivalent of the guy that runs the paper in Spider-Man. Jonah
Jameson.
Jonah Jameson.
Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
He's sort of that strong character that's the news mogul that hates the heroes, hates the super characters.
Yeah. I thought Whoopi Goldberg was an interesting choice, but they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything.
No, they
with
didn't
her.
do anything with it.
It was just kind of like, oh look, there's Whoopi Goldberg, and then she's gone.
Yeah. And for that matter, like, it's cool that they brought Vern in from the TV show, but they didn't do much with him either.
No.
Will Arnett's really funny, and he makes the role funny, but they didn't put anything in there specifically that made you need that character. No. And honestly, I'm sort of glad that they didn't throw like a whole bunch of characters at the screen.
True. Yeah.
Because what they did do with the Turtles, I thought worked.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've all said now, at least once, that Splinter's design is really good, but his voice is not that great. It's not that interesting or distinctive. April O'Neil. I mean, Megan Fox is just bad. She's just so bad. She has like the dead eyes the whole time.
It was better than Tara Reid.
Okay.
I don't know how well that is, but
yeah, like a brain dead box turtle is better than Tara Reid. But so yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, Megan Fox is like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how she just continues to live on the fact that she's eye candy, and that's really all she's got going for her.
Yeah, she doesn't have any acting talent whatsoever. You know, look at anything she's been in, and it's just, oh, look, she's pretty. There you go.
And you know, I haven't seen the first movie in a long time, but you know, going back, I mean, from what I remember, April O'Neil is like the audience surrogate, right? She's the person that you are supposed to identify with, and you're experiencing these strange turtles and these, you know, these situations through her eyes. And I couldn't connect with or emote with anything that was going on with Megan Fox's April O'Neil.
Well, you go back to the first movies, and they got a pretty woman to play her, but April O'Neil was very plain Jane. You know,
yeah, I'm not worried
I believe
about
Judith Hogue played her in the first.
I'm not worried about like how good looking she is. What I'm concerned about is, do I sympathize with this character? Do I feel myself in the same situation? Would I react the same way that this character's reacting? And in the first movie, I can say that yes, I do empathize with April O'Neil. She's a very human character, a very rooted character that nicely contrasts with what's going on with the turtles and how goofy and bizarre they are and all that. This April O'Neil is just an in-name only character that does the like 4 things that you need April O'Neil to do in a movie, but doesn't tie the audience to the story at all. You know, it really, if you have a scene where it's just April O'Neil or April O'Neil and a couple of human characters, the movie falls apart. Which Will Arnett sort of saves a little bit in the scenes that he's in, but really, unless the turtles are on screen, the movie doesn't work. The movie's not connecting. And fortunately, once they get to the turtles, which the first like 15 minutes of the movie seem longer than they are, but then once they get to the turtles, it's all a 60 mile an hour ride from there.
And the turtles were so fantastic. Like they did such a great job with them. There's a scene where they're just in an elevator, and that scene is amazing.
Beatboxing and rapping.
Yeah, that scene is absolutely fantastic, and all they're doing is they're in an elevator and they just start beatboxing.
It totally didn't play like, and I expected like Leonardo to kind of be the one with the stick up his ass and just be like, haha, crazy, younger brothers. But no, he totally joined right in, and it was awesome.
I like that too, and
that was a great scene.
I liked that. Unlike a lot of the other movies, particularly, there wasn't like a turtle conflict within the 4 turtles. They were kind of on the same side.
I mean, the only real turtle conflict that's ever there for the most part is Raphael, and it was there some, but not as big as it has been in other iterations.
Yeah, I mean, look at the 2007 where there was a clean split from the team. Yeah, and one of the things I thought was interesting is for the past year they have been, William Fichtner is going to be Shredder, and then he's not Shredder.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, like Michael Bay introduced him to the crowd as, this is your Shredder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And they were wondering how he was going to be Shredder because his name is clearly not, Shredder's name, which they never mentioned Shredder's name in the movie outside of Shredder. But, Fichtner did a really good job, although he went in and he did the one thing villains are just not supposed to do, but they do anyway. He monologued there at the end. He was like, let me tell you about my plan. Yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, oh, God, why?
Yeah.
Why? You were doing so well.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't even know, like, I didn't necessarily keep up with the news or anything, so I didn't necessarily know who was in it outside of Megan Fox, really. So I guess as soon as William Fichtner was on screen, I'm like, well, he's a bad guy. And I'm like, can't somebody just cast the poor guy as a good guy just once and throw us off?
Yeah,
as an audience?
Instantly.
Because as soon as he's on screen, he's going to be a bad guy.
Very true.
He's one of those guys. I mean, he does a good bad guy. So,
Yeah. William Fichtner is awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
Well, cool. Well, that's the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Hopefully you enjoyed our review. Please check out all of our reviews here. Like the video, subscribe on YouTube, And check out all the written and video reviews at dalemaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.
Cowabunga.